Gaza
by
Ambassador,
Hamas.
if we should be thinking about the lives that will be saved in the future when we think about the justifications for Israel's incursion, are you saying that under that thinking, Israel would theoretically be justified in killing every child in Gaza if ultimately that destroyed Hamas?
Absolutely not.
So where is the line?
The line is not
How
in the
far does the moral justification extend?
Let's agree on one thing.
No.
Once Hamas lay down their arms, more children will be saved on both sides, more civilians, and the region at large will come down. Everything will de-escalate.
I will agree.
So
I will agree with that point. I will agree with that point if you will agree with mine, and that is that Israel still has agency. Yes, Hamas might use the civilian population for barbaric purposes. It might shelter within civilian communities. But ultimately, Israel is still the one hitting the button, deciding to discharge a 2,000-pound bomb in one of the most densely populated communities in the world. It is still an Israeli munition that is blowing apart a child's body, tearing limbs off it, that is destroying buildings, that is crushing people. Israel has agency in these decisions.
Absolutely. And those decisions are examined before, during, and after by legal experts who are specialized in international law and the law of warfare.
Really?
And
yes, Joey?
He needs to get better experts. But the article that I read that said that they're using AI to designate targets with very little human oversight.
Interesting. You still there? Oh, sure, you might have frozen. Right, let's keep going with the interview.
And you have to always consider the right of self-defense. And we claim this is part of a right of self-defense. The idea that we have a right to kill everyone is definitely wrong, and it's not our idea. But the idea that
why
we have
killed
to...
so many thousands of innocent people?
Why?
Yes, why?
Because for the reason Hamas is hiding under them, not even among them sometimes, because that they choose schools, community centers to shoot rockets from. Now, to stop those rockets, do we have or don't we have, in order to stop rockets from being shot from a school, a UN compound, to shoot back, or are we supposed to die?
Ambassador, no one is defending.
One thing that I was left with this conversation, Chewy, is how much of the victim card the ambassador played all the way through. You know, I don't know where exactly would fit on, you know, kind of the world stage when it comes to military might, but it must be top 10. Israel must be top 10, with, even though it's little, for military might, because they're you know, funded by and supplied by the US. I don't know if that's fair or not, but they're not going to be top 1 or 2, but they'd be up there in the top 10, 15 in the world. And in other words, far more powerful than Gaza and some of those smaller areas around them. But what I got from this conversation was so much was played as the victim card. You know, but what about... But did you see this? But what happened to us? But what about Israeli children? But what about, you know, a lot of that all the way through this conversation was me going, you're talking about Israel like it has no agency, speaking to what Jack said before, like it's the ones that are suffering the most here. Like, yeah, there's some horrific atrocities have been committed against Israel in the last 6 months. We all know about that. We've talked about that. But that's still being a justification for now killing 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, whatever it's going to end up being, the number, and still playing the victim card for what happened on that day. That's a big part of what I took away from this whole conversation.
There's no equivalence here. Israel is the big military power in the region. They are the most technologically advanced military power in the region. You know, a peer state launched a massive drone and missile barrage on Israel just last week, and nothing got through.
Yeah.
Nothing. They're drawing an equivalency for Hamas firing homemade, bodged together rockets. Mad Max rockets from an area smaller than Auckland. as a justification for flattening every hospital, for letting people starve, for not supplying power or water, for drone striking children and aid workers with just such reckless, unrestrained abandon that any victim card here has flown out the window.
Yeah.
They have the high ground. They can show restraint. They can show devastating tactical pinpoint accuracy when they want to. And this has been my whole thing through this response that Israel's come. There is no restraint. There is no pinpoint. There is no, it's just devastating and indiscriminate. And I think here we are 4 months in, you can't call it anything else but ethnic cleansing. Because what's happening here in Gaza is monstrous. There's also bullshit happening on the West Bank as well. You know, the rate of attacks on Palestinians has increased. The rate of evictions and the closing down of neighborhoods has increased. Those two things are linked. Like this isn't a proportionate response.
Kia ora again, whānau. The clip you've just watched is brought to you today by our patrons. If you want to be a part of what we do, if you want to get behind what we're doing, if you're enjoying our content and wanting to share our content, then maybe you would consider being a patron to Big Hairy News. Head to www.patreon.com/Big Hairy News to sign up to one of our levels and be a patron. At this point, we are only a listener and viewer supported show. It all comes down to you guys. If you feel like jumping on board to help, then head to patreon.com/Big Hairy News. Hooroo!